Yep. No, everything else on my screens are working fine. So when you froze on my screen, I was like, yeah, that's him. But they're saying you're muted now.
I don't even have a mute button. I got rid of the mute button.
I don't know what's going on anymore. Right. But okay, give us a 5x5 in the chat if you guys can hear us.
5.
Right.
All right. Let's see. I did get a message from John Paul Rice, too. He says, many people ask for the links to the resources I named in the video. I put them all in one place so you can have them and share as you like. Resources for red pilling, healing, awakening, first steps. And the film is available worldwide on Vimeo. I just want to say again, guys, John Paul Rice is going to be here any moment, but if you can afford to, please support John and his production company by watching the film through the legally, set up portal through Vimeo. I mean, please support him and his work. I know you can watch the film for free on YouTube. I say that every time I mention John. You can watch the film for free on YouTube. I am firmly somebody who believes in supporting the work of artists that you believe in. So John is one of those people. I purchased the film myself on Vimeo, and when it was on Amazon Prime, if you had Amazon Prime, you could just watch it anytime you wanted. But I think that he deserves our help. All right, and Hog texted and said that yes, it's buffering hard. YouTube killed the stream, and now it's back. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming back here for part 2. All right, so
real quick before you move on, everybody, if you guys don't mind really helping us spread the word, we're cut like by a fourth now of how many people were hanging out with us. Maybe they just don't know the new stream's up, or they're sitting and waiting on the old one.
Yeah.
If you guys don't mind sharing out this for everybody, John Paul Rice is going to be a fantastic interview.
Yeah. Looks like we're cut by 3/4 actually. We had over 4,000 people here before. Now we're down.
Yeah, that's I don't math good. My bad.
All right, so we had this little clip here that Methods was able to to obtain. Senator Johnson speaking with Maria Bartiromo. You want to set this up?
Yeah, I could do that. I was watching this morning because when they announced Trump was going to be on, and Ron Johnson, I was very interested. So I wanted to watch it this morning, and there was 2 things that were said, and I kind of covered in the tweet. Basically, Maria is saying from her sources that Durham is going to be interviewing John Brennan this Friday. We've heard reports that this was coming, so it's very interesting, to hear about. Even though I assumed that this would happen months ago, but here we are. To me, if I was doing the investigation, and I'm not a Durham at all, I would want to interview him towards the end of certain parts of the investigation, because he is basically, to me, I look at the clowns, part of this was pulling the strings on what the FBI was handling. So interviewing him last, after you gather a lot of information, you present it in front of him, and then you ask questions, it puts him in a corner. So that's very interesting to have him interviewed. But then Ron Johnson also was talking about, he's frustrated. If you watch the clip or watch it in full later, he's very frustrated with how he's been trying to get evidence, and it just keeps getting stonewalled. So he's sending subpoenas. He said more are coming, but he made a comment that was interesting about how he's upset, just like how a lot of us were, how McCabe was let off the hook because he had already been called out before, and it seemed that. And he said to him, the only explanation he can make is that there must be more serious things going on that he's being investigated for them to not do something back last year.
Exactly. So, this is something we've said on multiple occasions, I mean, why go after the low-hanging fruit when you know that Andrew McCabe committed much greater crimes? So this makes so much sense to me. All right, let's go ahead and watch the clip.
My sources tell me that John Brennan is doing an interview with John Durham this upcoming Friday. I guess my only question to you is, as we await John Durham's investigation results, do you see reason for indictments?
Oh, I think, certainly Andrew McCabe should have been indicted over a year ago after the IG report where he was, and I love this euphemism, laughed candor with the FBI. No, he lied to his own FBI investigators. Remember, George Papadopoulos spent 10 days in jail in Wisconsin for lying to the FBI. So I can only assume from that standpoint that there are much greater offenses that they are investigating Andrew McCabe for. But no, there should be a host of indictments. From what we already know, there should be a host of indictments.
My sources
a
tell
host
me
of indictments. A host of indictments. This is all gonna come down for all of these people, guys. We are witnessing the final death throes of the deep state right now. The closer we get to the election, I think we're going to continue to see additional indictments coming down, and we're going to see more people getting pulled before this committee. People are talking a lot of crap about Ron Johnson, but I got to say, I think Ron Johnson is doing the smart thing here. He's getting it as close to the election as he possibly can, because the American people have a notoriously short attention span. We all need to be reminded of this stuff. Maybe not us watching the show, but the majority of America needs to be reminded of this stuff right at the moment that it's time to vote. Oh, these people committed crimes? Oh, they tried to remove President Trump in a coup? Oh, well, maybe I'm not going to vote for the other side. Maybe President Trump was trying to do the right thing all along, and I think maybe it's going to change some minds. These people are going to get a dose of reality.
Right, and there was also a lot of speculation back when they were looking at McCabe, like, very closely for those few weeks that we were hearing about grand jury stuff and all that, that maybe, and somebody said in the chat, I'm sorry I didn't catch who it was, I think your name was Dion, you're talking about how McCabe possibly flipped during that time. I'm not saying he's going to go scot-free, but on that situation, he flipped to dodge that kind of stuff. And there is more coming for him, but the fact that he was able, that was like, oh, he might be indicted to then crickets about it, leads me to believe, like, just like how Ron Johnson was saying, like, there's got to be more down the road, because we understand that administration was not only committing crimes to, against the president, against his team, doing all this stuff, they were trying to cover up crimes. So what had McCabe been doing for years, being, in the positions that he's been in? So, yeah, we'll see how this plays out. But the fact that Durham is now going to sit down and talk to Brennan, which we all know is essentially, the devil incarnate, there's going to be plenty of things that he's going to get to ask him. And I imagine he would probably plead the fifth or try to dance around it. But I'd like to see him walk out the door in handcuffs. But we'll see what happens. There's a lot more to it than just some of the things that we're hearing publicly.
That's right. Now I'm in the process of sharing this new stream link to every social media platform that we didn't get a chance to share this on before the show because YouTube cut the stream on us. So thanks for your patience, guys. John Paul Rice is here. We're going to go ahead and bring him in right now. Do me a favor, please, everyone. Share this new stream because we've got a ton of people who are not here seeing it. We've got just over 2,300 people here. We had almost 4,500 people here before. So kind of interesting that they wanted to make sure that we didn't get the maximum number of people here to welcome our guest. Let's go ahead and bring John in. What's up, John? How are you, buddy?
How you doing? Great to be with you.
Oh, man, so glad to have you. Listen, YouTube cut the stream just as we were getting to the point that we were going to bring you in, so we had to create a new one. So I don't know if maybe you want to share the link. I put it as my pinned tweet on Twitter, but that would be great. We want to get as many people here as possible, obviously.
Yeah, let me do that right now, double-check that I've done that and have the correct one that you guys have messaged.
Yeah, so
everybody.
it's the pinned comment on my Twitter profile.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and put it out on Gab as well.
Like, I would expect on the topics we're going to get into with you, John Paul, like, I'm not surprised that it cut off because it's definitely interesting, the things going on. Because I watched your, A Child's Voice today. And it's been in the back of my head ever since. What you were going for, wanting people to think, it's just been in the back of my head. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Never thought I'd be here.
Sure.
I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I did have an idea. I was following, what I knew in 2017. And I'm just grateful for the fact that combination with the film and the video that's now gone viral worldwide, that we are reaching so many more people who are learning about this issue. You guys and I, we've kind of known about this. I mean, there's been many more who've known it for decades, but known about this the last 3-4 years, and learning more and more, right? And deep dives the mainstream media won't do. But what we wanted to do for people who didn't know anything about it was to incorporate all that we had learned in our research and craft it around a story that, at least to me in art, is you show truthful things and then you also give hopeful things that are true. And so we built it around a love story, but it's not just a romance so much as it is the love of two people who stand up for each other in the face of horror. And at the same time, they summon their inner strength of both their inner child and their parent, if you will, and become parents to these children where they're going to risk their lives to go and find them and save them. And I felt that was like the beginning, the opening to a new way of looking at this issue, rather than to look at all the despair and the horror, for which it's endless, right? It's endless. It goes on for decades, hundreds of years, thousands of years in different forms. You can go back through history, talk about bloodlines, this, that, and the other, but we're here now in this time where the consciousness has risen from Me Too to Epstein to Maxwell, and we're at a general election, and we're at a time where the population of the world went from WikiLeaks to now, and this is not going to abate anytime soon. This consciousness, this shift in consciousness, is an ascension across multiple dimensions. And I don't mean it just in spiritual. I mean it across all expressions, from art, history, innovation, religion, technology. We're on the doorstep of a transformation that is not just driven by tech, but driven by creation and imagination. And our film is one little piece in that puzzle, but what's happened to it with the censorship and the censorship of many other films and books that has been going on for a long time, but it's accelerating by a very small group of people who are all tied to Jeffrey Epstein in some way, financially or otherwise, or both. And when you look at one side of this equation, you just ask yourself, how is it that I, as an owner of a media corporation, for which from Harvey Weinstein to Jeffrey Epstein to now, have never addressed the elephant in the room, which are allegations that continue to grow among a consumer base of their product? You would think they would, as a smart business move, not even admitting guilt, as a smart business move, you would announce a full investigation of the facts and the evidence to debunk the conspiracy theories and to pursue the truth no matter where it leads. And if they find people that were doing this to children, whether it was known or unknown, they turn those people over to the authorities and say, you have no business working in this industry anymore. And they're not doing that. They're completely silent.
Well, the sad fact is, John, they know that if they did investigate this fully, they know exactly what it would lead to. And they know that there are far too many people who make up this vast machine that is the entertainment industry, that it would come crashing down, and the money matters to them more than anybody else. You know, if they stop the machine that is child trafficking, that's a business in and of itself. But then it would also bring down the great media empires that these people have built upon the backs of those children, even as a separate business. Now, I want to take people through what happened. You know, I mean, I've been talking about A Child's Voice a lot. You've been on the show numerous times before. Just, you know, you've given us an introduction to what the film is. And I've told people, if you can afford to pay for John's movie, to support him by watching the film through Vimeo, please do. Any other avenues that are, you know, legally representations of this movie don't exist. You can watch it for free in a number of areas. I'm sure you can. But if there is ever anybody that you're going to support who is creating quality things for people to watch, quality entertainment, it's my friend John Paul Rice right here. So please support him if you can. But what happened with the censoring of A Child's Voice? It's been available on Amazon and a number of other streaming services for a long time. I mean, since it came out, it's been years now.
Yeah, it's been. So we released the film. We made the film in 2017, as in produced it. We released it in 2018 when it was finished film in the summer of 2018 on Vimeo. And then we went on Amazon, the UK, the US, and then we expanded internationally to about 70 or more countries, okay, on Amazon. The film, when it came out, I did some interviews, got some good traffic, got some good, press, and people were watching it, but it wasn't really known that well. And then after Epstein's arrest last year, I started doing more of these shows because obviously the subject's relevant, people were talking about it. And we started seeing an uptick in just the general traffic, right? That means like what we started with and what we were at now, the new average was about 30 to 40,000 minutes per day in the US on Amazon alone, which is fairly good just for a movie being out there. And then we saw when we did certain interviews like yours and others, this thing would shoot up like a rocket ship and stay up there at 50, 100,000, 300,000 minutes a day. And it would sustain, and then the reviews came in. What happened is that I know enough about the entertainment industry, and when Amazon releases a new policy on how they're going to help filmmakers, I just know what that means. But what they did is they started shifting the metrics. They started throttling content down, not just ours, but other content. So the numbers started to drop. This is going into 2020. As we get into the summer, right? We have COVID, everything else, right? All the news. We then have the Wayfair story that comes out. And as I said to people, look, there's speculation on all sides of it. I just always look at the way the company responds to it. The company didn't want to launch an investigation. They defended the pricing. That's very suspicious. You would at least, to your customer base and all these concerned parents who buy off your platform, you would go, we're going to launch a full investigation, get to the bottom of this, clear this up, that it was truly a pricing issue, case closed, we're moving on. They didn't do that. Our movie, and because I look at the minutes of our films on all platforms streamed, both domestic and international, it started to rise because there was an interest in human trafficking. Then, right as the Maxwell arrest happened and it was announced, I remember my director, my filmmaker's daughter, she was sharing that story or that movie through Amazon, the link, with all of her friends. And what they ended up doing is they went to go watch it and the film was unavailable. They had the link from our website. You can go to Amazon through the link on our website, go to where the movie is, and it says this movie is currently unavailable. We had it available on Prime for rental and for download. So if you had a membership on Prime, you could watch it for free. If you wanted to buy it, if you wanted to rent it, you could do that. It was completely unavailable. I go into our dashboard on Amazon. Both of them have red flags on them, which means they've been unpublished on the UK, the United States. I check with our distributor. It's been taken down in certain countries. We couldn't, because I didn't have the ability to go to each country's Amazon. I was able to look at some. There is one still available in Canada. There may be a few others, but the majority of them have been taken offline. And when I went to Amazon and I asked them, I said, in light of all of this and the relevance of our movie, they come back with a response that is basically about a metric of our performance of our film. They gave a very corporate, non-committal answer, but it was about the performance of our movie. Well, we have 6 other films on there. Child's Voice was in the top 3 for the last year and a half. And the other ones that were below it, if they wanted to, they should have pulled them based on those metrics alone. Mm-hmm. What they ended up doing after they took A Child's Voice off, and I didn't put this in the video, but it wasn't necessary as well. Our top performing film of all time, 1 Hour Fantasy Girl, which deals with prostitution. It's based on a true story. It's been there for 10 years. Was pulled internationally. It was pulled, they pulled Memories of a Lost Love, which was a movie I did in 2010. It's been a fairly good success on there. Not as high traffic, but for a drama. It dealt with child abuse. They pulled that off internationally, and they pulled it off domestically as well. Again, no warning, no notification. So what I did was I said, you know what? It was a combination of things. It was the director's daughter saying, you know what? You should do some kind of post on Instagram because everybody's sharing this now. And so that day I went to Twitter and I put on there that, you know, Amazon had taken down our movie and it dealt with, we were talking about an international child trafficking ring, businessmen, among wealthy businessmen who were buying young girls and young boys of the single digit age, not teenagers, children. And we see this, and we're out there ahead of this whole thing before Maxwell and Epstein, which is not about, I was telling you so. It had more to do with the fact that we were there before that, and now history has caught up with us. Mm-hmm. And so when I went on there the next day, I had just done an interview with another gentleman, very nice man. I've been on his show before. I just said, you know what? I'm going to put my phone right here, and I'm just going to talk to my followers, my 7,000 followers on Instagram, just tell them what happened. And it just poured out of me. And I just let it fly, and I just told the truth, and I spoke to all the open source information. I pointed them to where people could go, Anake Lucas, Ronald Bernard, look at the music industry, look at just the observable things that people could see, and say, do your own research for yourself, and then also how to heal. What is the response to this time for humanity, as opposed to being in despair and how horrible and terrible it is. Well, I sent it to one friend and I sent it to a few others, and within, I would say, 3 or 4 hours, it started traveling everywhere, all over Twitter. You retweeted it, Judith Rose retweeted it, then it just took a life of its own, and I couldn't even track it. Twitter was shadow banning it. We had and this was 2 weeks ago now, so in the last 2 weeks, we found out that, you know, Facebook started you can call it shadow banning, whatever you want to call it, censoring any post with Save the Children in the post. And they literally put a block, they gave people we've seen posts with this, and therefore, you know, it may contain content that's dangerous or whatever the hell, you know, it was just so insane. They were trying to stop the spread of this thing. And it's because I said it, save the children, end human trafficking, and love will win. That was my final message. And where we're at now, I mean, I'll just tell you, like, the most important thing about all of this, guys, is we now have, from my observable place where I'm at, we have seen anywhere between 15 and 20 million people worldwide have seen this now.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
It's now been translated into Spanish on a major Spanish channel for which they have 200,000 subscribers. It's now been viewed by over 400,000 people in the last 3 days. It continues to travel. Everybody in Hollywood is talking about it. There's people, actors that I know, even in their woke circles, they're seeing it and talking about it. I never intended it for it to be like that. I'm very happy to be a part of this. I don't believe, I want to make very clear, I'm not a leader. I'm not looking for followers. I want to teach people how to fish for themselves, to nourish themselves, to learn for themselves, to think critically for themselves, because that's what we need going forward.
John, they're buffering us again.
A lot of what you just said made it through, but now they're saying, some are saying it's back. But yeah, no, this doesn't happen. This doesn't happen, John Paul, at all. This is very important, so I want to see if we get this going.
Yeah.
Give us a 5x5 in the chat if we got it back. Because I'd like to keep this train of thought going, for sure. And I'll just say this, even if people can't hear it at all. The Save the Children hashtag has been attacked in mainstream media, as in articles. I'm sure you've seen it. So you have this video go viral, and then the mainstream media's talking point against QAnon is that QAnon is hijacking Save the Children to spread disinformation, because and it's actually hurting the actual people that are trying to save children. And that to me is so fascinating, because you could pretty much time that directly with your video going viral.
Oh yeah, and I didn't, I didn't notice until I started looking at it, and I saw the other day, Good Morning America did a hit piece on QAnon, and was talking about that they co-opt the hashtag Save the Children.
There you go.
Here's the thing. I've told this to you guys before in offline, and I said, Q being real, not real, we're here now, right? We're here now. And that's not to discredit it any which way, but we're here now. And what we have and what we're seeing unfold is connections to all the things that Q said over the last 3 years, for which I've followed. And there's proofs of what's coming true. Seems to be, right? I mean, names, actions, things that are occurring, I don't know, but all I told people was, whether you believe or follow Q, there's truthful open source information in there that if you started to put the pieces together and ask yourself the questions that are necessary, there's no belief that is required in any of that intel. You understand? I mean, I'm not trying. And so in that video that I did, I didn't mention anything about QAnon, because I went straight for what is true. And I wanted to make sure that I could appeal to as many people as possible who may have that cognitive dissonance, where they hear that and they immediately have a programmed response to dismiss it as conspiracy. And that's why when I was talking about this as a broader issue about human trafficking, this is a human rights issue. This is a child issue. These are all of our children, the world's children. And if we don't stand together in the name of love for those kids in the face of this darkness, in this time, we're going to go down with them. We will go down with them. If you want to take a look at what they're doing with Antifa and Black Lives Matter and all the other shit that they're going to throw into this election, that's what they do. And that's the energy that they want drawn out. And they will get it if we respond in the way that they want us to respond. We'll they create the chaos to bring more chaos. My thing in watching all of this, I found it not hysterical, but insane. When I saw ABC, so Good Morning America does this hit piece on QAnon, references the Save the Children. They never give you any context. They never give you any specifics. It's a story. It's just a story. It's a story that they're telling their audience. And what is insane about this is that ABC News is the parent is the company with Good Morning America and Disney. And they're the ones in 2016 who covered up Jeffrey Epstein and Virginia Giuffre when they had all the material. And they have the gall to turn around and tell their audience that it is a conspiracy, that there's a pedophile ring in Washington, D.C. I mean, it's insane.
No,
And I understand why the audience doesn't get that. They don't see it because they're not trained to digest what is told to them through the trusted sources, the programming, all of that, for which they know their audience and how these people know. 10 Laws of the Subconscious Mind, look it up on YouTube. You'll be blown away, because if you think that you're thinking your own thoughts after hearing them, they know how to program your mind better than anybody else. That's why they have billions of dollars invested in their enterprise, to make sure that you don't start thinking outside of the box. I find it interesting that, here's another side note, Save the Children. A lot of people started finding out that it took them to SaveTheChildren.org, which was run and funded by Bill and Melinda Gates and Jeff Bezos and a half a dozen other creepy ass people. Mm-hmm. And people were like, no, we got to change it. I'm like, you know what? I think it's fantastic that people landed and went to that website and found out that the people involved with Jeffrey Epstein have a Save the Children organization. Because if anything, I didn't intend for it to be like that, but if anything, it should show the perversion and hypocrisy of these people and how they're protected by the media. And nobody in Hollywood is talking about this at all. And I am inspired because I see dozens of people reaching out to celebrities on Twitter and saying, you're a parent. You are a parent with children. Why are you not talking about this issue? These are their fans starting to rise up and ask the question, why are you have a child? Is this issue not important to you? Why are you not talking about Epstein and Maxwell and people that have been named? Bill Clinton. And he's going to be speaking at the DNC convention. Do you support that? I mean, I know you and I know all this. It's like when people start saying about, well, Trump was accused of raping a 13-year-old, and they don't look at the Daily Mail that came out and said it was totally fabricated and faked. And I say to people, you have the same access to the same internet as I do. How is it that I'm able to find this and you don't? Because you don't seek it out. And I told him, I said, on top of that, the lady that represented Katie Johnson, Jane Doe, in that lawsuit was Lisa Bloom. Mm-hmm. Go online and look at what Lisa Bloom said about Tara Reade to her face.
Yep.
And said, I have to vote for Biden. These people don't give a shit about anything but their power and their status and their ego. And we are better off without them. Walk away from these people. Stop listening to them. Don't give them your time, your money. There is a beautiful world waiting for us that we can create and decide. And it'll be the first time in our life we will start writing the real human story as it has never been written before. And that's all I wanted to do with my video, was put truthful information to point you in different directions of where you could go. And I'm just grateful for the messages by the thousands that I've received, not about just me speaking up, but people who were sexually abused as children, who have been suicidal, depressed, women, men, wives of men whose husbands were sexually abused and have been dealing with that abuse and looking for a way out, looking for a reason to live. This is the power of what we have to be able to do. This right here is the most powerful utility you have, your voice, because it comes from within you, that vibrational energy. And it's not what you're saying, it's what you're feeling when you're saying it that people respond to. And if all of us began to do this, I truly believe this, if we took to social media the way that the media takes to social media in terms of its negativity and its division, of chopping things up, of creating that negative energy and that contention, and we started talking about the things that we love about life, the things that make life worth living, the people in our lives who actually helped us in that most critical time, that didn't even know they were the hero of our lives, that changed us, that changed the trajectory of my life. Picking up the phone and calling that person, emailing, texting, writing, doing a live stream, talking about your authentic lived experience, as awkward as you are, the energy that that would create, they'd have to shut this whole damn thing down because it would spread like a virus and it would be completely contagious. It would spread everywhere. This universal love and expression. You light up the world with love. That's what you have to do. You cannot stay in this darkness forever and despair about how horrible shit is just because these few people over here do this horror. Your love and your power is more, it is bigger than anything, and they know that. They know it. They've known about it for thousands of years. That's why they do all of this witchcraft shit. They do their black magic. They worship their dark god. They let their entity enter them. They do this shit to kids because that is the only thing that gives them power. Outside of that, they have nothing other than your consent, your belief in them, and your fear. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah, we can't keep giving it to them, you know? And to your point, I mean, like, this world is dark enough. I mean, there's ways to discuss this stuff. There's ways to get out the information without having to go to, like, the darkest, most horrible stuff you can understand. I don't know if you saw this happening the other day, but, you know, all the time, you know, people will find accounts on Twitter that are producing or sharing the most horrific images and videos that you can possibly imagine. CP in and of itself. And people, in what they thought was, you know, intention to raise awareness, they were actually sharing the images and videos themselves. So the CP itself was coming across people's timelines. And, you know, I mean, I made a video and I said, hey, you know, number one, you're participating in a crime. Okay, you know, just because you want to tell people that this account exists so that they can go and report it, the stupidest thing you can do is to share that image or that video itself. I mean, you're victimizing the child. I mean, your intention is completely reversed in that time. Right. So, you know, you can talk about this stuff, but you don't have to participate in the same evil acts that these people have perpetrated upon these kids. I think you're giving more power to the people who have committed these crimes. And like I said, you're committing a crime itself. Never. You know, anytime somebody tries to send me that, I don't need to see it to know that it exists. Okay. Right. I'm fully aware of what these people are doing. All right. You can tell people this account is doing horrible things, report them for the crime that they're committing. Okay. You know, but I mean, like, there are ways to go about it so that you don't have to participate in the criminal acts.
Right. Absolutely. No. Times, like, if you want to have sleepless nights, you know, have at it. But I think there's another world there. You know, for me, it was my work. It also was my personal interest because, as I've talked before about my own abuse that I dealt with as a child and had to overcome, it's really about finding solutions, guys. That's really what this time is about. You know, we can talk about all the bad things, all the things that are wrong with the world, and it from Buckminster Fuller, he says, you don't change things by just, in order to change things, that makes the old model obsolete. Mm-hmm. And it's really just a matter of whether you want to be a force for creation or a force for destruction. And that negative energy that you're putting out by sharing the child porn, or, you know, and if you want to look at things the way these people look at it, in their bigger esoteric knowledge and occult way, they put out negative energy directed into a person. So if, for example, Antifa goes and does something that creates damage and chaos, there's that aspect of it, but it's also it pulls us into it. It pulls our negativity into it as well. This is what they literally feed off of, and it gives them more power. So if we are to create a society that we want, we have to start spelling out in detail what kind of world we want to live in, the kind of world that protects all life on this planet. And we start, instead of having contentious debates about who's right and who's wrong, of left versus right, which is the old paradigm anyway, it's conditioned, go to what is the truth. The truth is this: it cuts past all the BS. And it just goes, okay, this is what's true. Now, how do we work off of a foundation of truth? From there, what are your ideas? What are the things that you're bringing to the table that can enhance building off of that platform, rather than you being right and these people being wrong? And we're in the infancy of that, but in 2021 and 2022 and beyond, it's going to continue to unfold, because the energy, the pent-up energy, it's not only economic, it's human energy that wishes to expand and release and grow and stretch and create. That's really what we've been held. When I mentioned in that video the reboots, remakes, prequels, and sequels that we've been watching for the last 20 to 25 years, accelerated. I mean, there's just rehashes and imitations of imitations of imitations. We're in a holding pattern. We have, I mean, I look at it this way. I was part of Remember the Titans, right? That was my first film. That was 20 years ago. And my God, it was celebrated by everybody. It was so 20 years ago, this country was harmonizing on a movie about black and white racial issues of taking place in the 1970s. And I remember ESPN doing expose after expose or features on college football teams together in the South, sitting down and watching it, and they had a greater sense of togetherness. This is 20 years ago. I mean, you can go back in time to other examples. I'm just talking about my own personal experience. And now, my God, you would think Remember the Titans never happened.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I remember that movie specifically from all the times that we watched movies growing up. That was my family's thing. We would just watch movies together. That movie right there, I had to watch over and over. That was my go-to when I didn't know what else to watch. I would put that movie back on, because it made, not only did it just make me feel good because it had a happy, ending to it, not to spoiler things, but the idea of surpassing something that otherwise, is a problem amongst society, whether it is race or anything like that. That's the kind of movies we need. And I wanted to make sure, because I know we've been in buffering hell tonight, I wanted to make sure that I said this, because like I said, I watched your movie today. And while I was watching it, I had a couple thoughts. And my first thought was I've been hearing since we got started in this Q movement, or whatever you want to call it, MAGA, like we need more, not like entertainment, but media. We need something that's created in this world. I know you said you made this a few years ago. So we'll say you're ahead of the curve a little bit. I have no problem saying it, but we need to have, this kind of media out there. Because one, not only I love hate movies that I don't know what's going to happen next. I love it, but it makes me wish I knew what was going to happen next. And I went through that the entire hour and 20 minutes of your movie. I did not know what was going to happen next. So if that was your intention, you nailed it, because I'm sitting here trying to figure it out in my head. I was like, I know this John Paul Rice guy. I've seen him talk a few times. No, but you took it there. So it served its purpose in keeping my attention. But also more than that, you had mentioned in your I'm not only want to call it a rant, but your 38 minutes that got spread around everywhere, that you just went off and talked. You talked about how people want to express art. Right? They have art within themselves. You're obviously passionate about this subject. Many people here in the audience, including us, Red Pill and I, are very passionate about this. But you found a way to take deep, dark topics and turn it into an art piece that we can relate to many different things we see in the media. And that to me was the beautiful part about it. You didn't spell it out like we were 5 years old. You made it to where we could feel what you were going for. And I just really want to know when the sequel is, because it's so, I really enjoyed it, because that's what we need. And I hope this inspires people that are in your field or are aspiring to be in this field to take it that way. So if anything, we need more of that.
Yeah. And I thank you. Our way, I mean, there's a craft that you have to follow in order to create a story that's engaging. And Hollywood as a whole, I mean, I caught Ed Astra the other day. You know, this is a Brad Pitt movie, $80 million budget. There's no script. There's a script, but it's a series of events that is tonal. I mean, it just like people in my profession who get paid millions of dollars to write scripts for mega blockbusters. There's no craft there anymore. I mean, there really isn't. I'm not talking about bad movies. I'm talking about movies that are supposed to be good. I mean, the last mega blockbuster that I saw that had a structure and a theme was the Thanos one, the Marvel movie.
Yeah, Infinity War.
Infinity War. That had a theme to it. That had a feeling to it. But those are rare. And Captain America, Winter Soldier, that was another one.
Yeah.
But it's not, the thing is that what art is about is honest expression. And it's not always known what you're doing at the time. We didn't, to be quite frank, you don't always know when you endeavor upon a movie, you don't always know what you're saying. It's coming out of you. But if you go in, and this is the difference, what you were talking about, Meth, is that if you go in with a preconceived notion about this is what I'm going to say, before you've even written a line or put a script together, you're doing propaganda. You're doing an imitation of Tarantino. You're doing an imitation of something, and it's not your authentic voice. And art is a messy thing. It's like we're following a structure, we're following a belief based on what we know, and there is a discovery that happens in the making of that movie, both with the directors, the actors, the producer. I mean, at least for me. And then when we get to the editing and we get to the special effects, that ending to the movie came in the last week. It was inspired because I was working with the person doing the CGI, and this loop kept playing along, and it just hit me, and I was in the shower, and I cried my eyes out, and I didn't know why. And then I told Edgar, and he said, yes, that's correct. And we put the sounds of the children at the end. I'm not giving the movie away, but I'll put that whole ending together in less than a week, and the sound was dropped in the night before the premiere. So these things, they teach you. It's like a book, you read a book. I'll give you an example, The Giving Tree, right? You read The Giving Tree when you're a kid, cute book. You read The Giving Tree when you're a 20-year-old, different kind of book. You read The Giving Tree when you're 40, 50, 60, very different book. Because each of them is reflecting back to you a set of your values and consciousness at that time. And yet it's timeless at the same time. The truth is timeless. The stories may not be, but the truth is. There's universal truths in so many things that they're archetypes. They're built into our DNA, essentially. But when you lie to people, when you propagandize, when you say, this is what you have to think, this is what you have to feel, this is what you should be. It's like I don't want to. I mean, I wanted to watch Black Panther, but my God, I was told that if I don't, and I don't come away with this thought, it just turned me off. I didn't want to watch it, and I wanted to watch it. And now I couldn't enjoy it because I was being told what I'm supposed to do by everybody, and not just people. They were regurgitating the media of what we're supposed to think about these movies and what they mean, and it's a message, and it's like it's a damn movie, and it's like the way they make it is like a dividing issue when it's just it should be just an expression and what you draw from it, what you like about it. Now you've got to like reconstruct your head because you don't get it. And it's like, no, I got it. It's an all right script, cool effects, cool story, nice concept. Look forward to seeing the sequel. Oh no, you got to have a political opinion, you got to have a social opinion. It's like, no, I don't. And if I don't, there's nothing wrong with that. And if somebody else does, there's nothing wrong with them either. Where we're going with this, and many film producers have told me of 30, 40 years experience, and said, your kind of films are the ones that are going to be necessary because we're needing truthful information that is not retreading the past of, I say this to my fellow filmmakers. You want to tell me a movie about race and racism? Show me something I haven't seen before. Show me a movie. Get Out did that. Get Out showed me a movie I had never seen before. I mean, it may have had a political agenda to it. Sure, fine. But it showed me a story told in a vastly different way that I'd never seen it before. It made me think a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Not that white people are bad, but like, damn, that's really effed up, right? And that's what we need. We need new, fresh ideas. We don't need to be replaying what Hollywood is wanting us to do. It has more to do with your authentic voice and the honest expression, as imperfect as it is, to seek the truth of what you have learned and share that with other people. Otherwise, we're going to be dumb. Art is one of the most important things for our consciousness because it takes a little bit of disturbance and a little bit of crazy to say, hey, pay attention to this over here. Don't keep the status quo, guys. Look over here. You can show me something horrific. You can show me something beautiful. And if you show me violence, show me the consequences of violence. Don't glorify it. We have enough problems with kids today and the video game industry and what that's already done to their subconscious mind. We've got a lot of damage to repair, but we don't need to add more onto it. And I'm very happy, whatever I'm going to do in the future, I want to bring about No Restrictions Studios, where I work with 21st century filmmakers who are ready with new ideas, new stories. Doesn't matter the big budget, small budget. I've got to take care of my own right now. I'm doing a pre-production on a movie called Game Day, which is a fantastic film. It's a story of family, of football, and of rivalry within the family. And it takes place over one Sunday between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, their hated rival, an Italian-American family.
Hey, Red Pill, those are sports teams. I just want to let you know. So.
I'm aware.
I just wanted to.
You got to Google them real quick.
Right. Yeah, just wanted to help out a brother. But no, to your point, like we do need that for sure. And I'm also wondering, and I want to go ahead and just put this out in the ether if it hasn't been discussed. If a movie about needing new content, right, doing something different. You got to admit, the last 3 years or so, especially with the QAnon quote unquote phenomenon, there's a movie there, right?
Yeah,
there certainly is.
There's movies within movies of that, and I have a feeling you'll be seeing a lot as all this plays out. There are going to be many people. Documentaries will be common, very common, but dramatic thrillers, the espionage and all of it. I mean, I would be happy. I mean, I'd be honored. Obviously, the government would have to probably say, "Okay, you can talk about this much," but I would give it an authentic, point of view, in terms of, it's like this perfect storm of how did we get here? and how far we've come. And look at the conversation you were having 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and now. We're here now. And we're in a new time. We're on the edge of a new time that is about to crest, and a wave is going to come. And that's going to be the first wave, and then the next wave, and the next wave after that. And then, but I see that there's going to be enormous expressions that are vastly different in all areas. Technology, I will just say this is the one thing I do want to get into eventually in venture capital. Not the legacy venture capital. Well, I mean, there might be a few in there, but not really. What I want to do is I want to use technology to bring us back into humanity, because it's pulling us away from it.
100%.
And we can do that. There are, virtual reality is barely being touched upon for what it can do in healthcare, what it can do in childcare, what it can do with doctors. Raising our awareness, our consciousness, victims of trauma. I mean, it's remarkable just the little that I have observed, and not little, but the little that I've seen in the bigger picture of things, how 5 years ago they could record an audio on a phone where a guy had fallen on the ground, fallen on the ground, was hurt, and there were people around him, talking to him, caring and tending to him, just an audio. They were able to take that audio with the technology and recreate a virtual reality of those people standing around him, caring for him. And what was amazing is this: everybody knowing that this is virtual reality, hearing that sound and seeing that digital image, that three-dimensional image of the people surrounding him, evoked empathy in the people watching through the goggles. We have enormous capacities to create an entirely different world that we have not even scratched the surface of as a consciousness, as a collective of humanity, where we transform society on a level that has never been seen before. And they want to do with AI, transhumanism, which there are going to be future battles there, don't get me wrong, but you're not in them. You're going to have to build in another direction to make them obsolete, so that all they have left is a smaller and ever-shrinking consumer base of people who want their product. And if they're corrupt, what did the internet start as? A weapon of war. Mm-hmm. We went and we feminized it, not in the way that it's messaged, with animal videos, with millions and millions of views. And now we have created, in spite of all their censorship, all of their shadow banning, all of the demons get louder and louder and louder and louder. And it's like, you guys have pushed through in spite of all of these things, and they can't stop it. This is humanity. And if we use that wisely, we can change the world very quickly. And what you're talking about, all you guys building these platforms, building this, it's all available to you. It's the crisis that we needed to have happen, the disruption that we needed to have happen in order to create the opportunity for creativity to come in for the very first time. Because we were just kind of all sleepwalking, and with our phones and all this tech that they were giving us, not realizing they're teeing us up for their AI and their containment system. So, bigger issue, but I would invite as many artists in whatever way that you can to begin expressing yourself outside of the controlled narrative and the messaging that's given to you, and start speaking your authentic voice again.
I have to agree with you there. And one of the one of those areas of Hollywood that's going to have to be replaced is the producers of children's entertainment, because clearly we know that right now it's overrun with a lot of really awful people. Now, since I mentioned that, I had something I wanted to share with the audience at the midway point, and having to start the stream over kind of messed up my flow. But My good buddy on Twitter, Pepe Deluxe, he and his family create custom shoes. They take Vans and they paint like, images of, like MAGA, the MAGA lion. They put Pepe on there, and his 8-year-old son made this image right here of Pepe the Frog and an American eagle. And I believe they're going to be putting it on a pair of shoes. And I know that he and his dad are watching the show right now. So I wanted to just let him know that you, sir, my friend Pepe's child, you could be one of those up-and-coming artists creating the art for the next generation of people consuming content here in America and abroad. And all you need to do is stick with it. And what you've done here is pretty impressive for an 8-year-old boy. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring up a couple of pairs of shoes that Pepe and his family put together. I just don't want to show the full message, but go ahead and take a look at that. I thought that was pretty cool. Great job, you guys. Let me take you to the next piece. Here is a collage. We've got a pair of Vans that says "Trust the Plan," where we go one, we go all. Got the Q on the back. Kofefe, Pepe Deluxe 3 on the sides, the MAGA Lion, and Pepe from the Q News Network. Look at that. Q sent me on the side there. I'll show you these after the show, John, because I know you guys can't see them right now, but yeah. Pretty cool stuff. Now, before we end the show, I also have to say a couple of quick thank yous to the audience. Have gotten a couple of donations during the course of this show. Ann, Sheeran, Randall, thank you very much to you three. Randall specifically said that Belly of the Beast by the Fall Brothers is pure craziness and should not be on your show. Sorry you felt that way. I thought it was an interesting topic. And, I mean, if you don't agree with the movie, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But again, I feel like my viewers are smart enough. We put the information out there and let you guys decide for yourself. Also, Jamie, let's see. Jamie had nothing specific to say. Hey Jude always has a message. Watched George of the Jungle and Willie Brown plays himself. So funny. I didn't know that Willie Brown had ever made the foray into Hollywood. Are you talking about the George of the Jungle like with Brendan Fraser from the 90s? Also, from Green Organic Makeup. Thank you very much to Green Organic Makeup. And we also got a donation from Dean. Dean on Cash App said, longtime fan of the show. We said that one. Finally, Isaiah Smith says, thanks for all you do. So thank you to everybody who has supported the show during the course of the broadcast. We are coming to the end here, John. What's the next step here? I mean, do you think there's any possibility of getting your movie out there into some other, venues? I mean, are you working on maybe having like a dedicated web portal, some place where people can go and support you? Or, I mean, are you working on taking it down from the number of channels on YouTube that are mirroring the video illegally?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. We have been approached by many different companies that we're starting to speak with, and we've already engaged in a couple of them. You're going to be hearing about them in the next couple of weeks if everything goes through. And we'll be doing live stream premieres of the movie on platforms that are non-exclusive, but have a fair either through ad revenue or small fee, that they can rent or download. We're going to get it on more platforms, basically. We're not going to be back on Amazon, and not because I'm against it. They're not going to let us. Certainly not after I did that video.
Yeah.
And I don't really care. The one thing that I say to people is, look, it was good to have it there while it was there. It gave us a lot of opportunity to reach a lot of people, and in some way, Jeff Bezos, you helped us. You helped our film become an even bigger hit and have more traffic to it. And I can say that for certain because the amount of views and rentals off of Vimeo On Demand's channel for A Child's Voice has gone up 5,000%.
Sweet.
And it's more in the last 10 days than we've done in the last 2 years. So thank you, Jeff Bezos, for that. We're going to build a portal on our website. This is something that I told Edgar. I could kind of see the writing on the wall. I just didn't think it would happen so quickly. I thought in 2021 we were definitely going to have to be there, but we are going to do that, and we're going to seek out other avenues for media, which means there may be a television, more than just online, I will have to go. Unfortunately, folks, if you are watching it on YouTube, I am going to take it down through copyright because it's now, I mean, there was 1 or 2 there. Now there are like 5, 6, 7, 8. Now it's worldwide. And as happy as I am for people to see it, there are other ways that people can see it for free through ad revenue. And those are the platforms. I mean, look, people talk about giving stuff away. I put my money into this because I believed in what I was doing. And everything that we earn, we're a business. But it's not about business like I need millions and millions of dollars. I take that money that we earn, pay back the investors, and then take my profits from it, not to pay myself back, but to invest in the next movie. Mm-hmm. Edgar and I both do that. So anybody who's buying the film is helping fund our next movie. And that's all I'm saying is, like, we're outside of the Hollywood studio system. We rely on our films and the fans to create our content. Maybe someday I'll have the grace to have, maybe millions of dollars and won't have to rely on that. But right now, that's just the reality of where we're at. So if you guys can afford $3.99 on Vimeo for a rental, or $9.99 on Vimeo on demand for a purchase, I don't mind that. If you buy it and you share that account with multiple people, which I tell people, share it with your friends if you'd like, that's great. There's also Film Ahoy. It's on there for free. You can go to Film Ahoy and look up A Child's Voice. It's there for free with ads, or you can buy it for like $1. There's also Zumo, which is an app. And there's also the Roku channel, Horror Binge. It's on there. So you can watch it. Those 4 platforms right now you can watch if you have any one of those. And that's it. And we're gonna continue to promote the movie. If Vimeo takes us down, we'll find more platforms. I mean, I'm hoping they'll keep it up, but you never know in this world.
All right, and where can people find you? Obviously, you're on Twitter at No Restrictions Entertainment, and then you've got your Facebook. Do you want people coming to you on Facebook?
I prefer not. I usually I had a lot of people add me as a friend. I really try to keep my closest people there. Find me on Instagram at No Restrictions. Find me on Twitter at No Restrictions. Message me on those 2 platforms, please. Facebook gets really messy, and I just don't like to add more people to my private and public page. So
of course,
yes, those 2 places, that would be great. And if you go to the website, norestrictionsent.com, you can also email us through there. We will get back to you. We get back to everybody.
All right, good stuff. I need to say thank you to Hey Jude. She says yes for that movie. That's the one. Okay. And then also Lisa, she just said smile. So Lisa, I appreciate your support of the show. And Hey Jude, as always, thank you for pitching in. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for putting up with all of the technical difficulties. YouTube, we still made it to the end. And as always, you should be able to go and watch this broadcast in its entirety if you had issues with the buffering. So I don't know. I'm going to have to check it out. Hopefully it doesn't look too horrible on the playback. But John, it's always a pleasure having you here. You know I love you. Thanks for coming on the show. And I think it's a wonderful thing what we're seeing here. I mean, people really rallied around you, rallied around the movie, rallied around the cause. And the more opportunities we have to raise awareness for this stuff, the better. And, none of us are ever going to stop until actually every single child is truly free. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate y'all for being here. Methods, as always, thank you for helping out. I love you as a co-host. You are my best friend. And thank you so much for everybody for hanging out with us. Good luck. God bless. I am taking tomorrow off for reals. I will be back Tuesday at 6 p.m. for another edition of Red Pill News. Good luck. God bless. We'll see you guys later.